Hey there, vinyl community. I'm just doing a early December haul this week. I'm doing an early haul because I ordered some records on Black Friday, record store day, like that weekend, about 2 weeks ago, and they arrived in the post this week. And if I waited to the end of December, I'd probably have too many records to go over, and it would take like an hour. So this one should be about 20 minutes because I only got about 5 records. Before I begin, though, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to my friend Jay. He's got a station called Crazy Cunner. He does some really cool stuff. He doesn't do anything vinyl related that I've seen yet. He does a lot of other manly things. Like right now, he's doing a advent calendar where he's doing a beer a day and he's reviewing that. He also does these awesome videos where he goes out camping in the wild, and he'll spend like a night out with like no tent, no sleeping bag in Ontario in November, where it's quite cold, and he cooks meals. He brings his dog out. He brings a buddy out once in a while too. Really cool stuff. I recommend, if you're looking for some good YouTube entertainment, to check out his channel. I'll include the link below. First album I got, it was recently reissued by Rhino Records. They've been doing a lot of Alice Cooper albums, and this is Lace and Whiskey. And fortunately, I was able to get it at a Canadian record store. I've been looking online on eBay and they were wanting like 40 bucks for this, but I found it at a record store for 22 Canadian, which is good because it's not my favorite Alice Cooper album. Generally, if you're going to put like the worst Alice Cooper albums together, this kind of makes the bottom 5 in a lot of lists. I do like this album though. I think just listening to it on vinyl, you kind of appreciate it more. If I had this on CD in my car, though, I'd probably be skipping a lot of songs. There aren't any major hits on here other than You and Me, which Frank Sinatra covered at one point live. I don't think it appears on any YouTube videos or actual recordings. I think just Alice Cooper brought his mom to a Frank Sinatra concert or something, and Frank covered it for him, and he called Alice the Coop, and Alice was really happy about that. Another song on here that is on the box set is It's Hot Tonight and Road Rats. And then there's a cover song on here called Ubangi Stomp. I don't know who originally sang that. I should have looked that up before the video, but I'll look it up after. Or someone can comment below if they know. And here's the back of the album. And then you have a lyrics. Is it lyrics? No, just credits on the cover here. And then you have Alice, not really looking like Alice Cooper. And he's playing another character on here. I guess they're experimenting with Alice's personalities. This character's name was, I believe, Maurice Escargot. And this is produced by Bob Ezrin. And I don't know if it was a big hit or not. I think it was a flop. This was about 2 albums after Welcome to My Nightmare. So you had Welcome to My Nightmare, Alice Cooper Goes to Hell, and then Lace and Whiskey. And we have Dick Wagner and Steve Hunter on guitar, who are phenomenal guitarists. I believe Dick Wagner passed away about 2 years ago, unfortunately, though. But he was doing a lot of fans were approaching him about these blackout Alice Cooper albums. Alice wasn't completely blacked out during this, but he was definitely into his alcoholism stage. And Alice got sober with this album. Jamie Cottle, I'll post a link to his video too below, did a review of this and Alice Cooper live at the AstroTurf. This is not an original, unlike Jamie has, but this is Alice Cooper's From the Inside, and this was reissued about 2 months ago by Rhino Records. So it has the original kind of setup with the sleeve there, and it has the back cover opening as well, and it's got the opening with Alice in the quiet room. This is reissued on like a transparent, there's the inner sleeve. This one has lyrics. It's issued on like a greenish, bluish, transparent album. It doesn't really look good on camera. Looks better in person. I should mention too, the Lace and Whiskey was released on, it's called Whiskey Brown. It's kind of ugly, but I kind of like it. It's just not the best looking color, but it's unique. I don't think many albums are released on Whiskey Brown. So I was really happy to get this. I know it's not a great album, but I was quite enamored with it. My brother had this when I was, well, he was about 10 years older than me. When I was about 7 or 8, I remember seeing this on his bed, and I kind of like just kind of flipped through it, and I was really taken away with the themes of this record. There's Alice in the Quiet Room with the tribute to Keith Moon that Jamie was talking about. And I just was kind of, my mom always said to me, one day we'll put you in a rubber room and the men in the white coats are going to take you away one time when, she's trying to calm me down if I was hyper as a kid. I don't think I ever was that hyper, but she just make jokes like that. And this explored the themes of like mental illness and craziness. And I think it was one of the first albums to actually do something in that regard. Not a lot of hits on this album. The big hit was How You Gonna See Me Now, which is like a really soft rock kind of ballad. The hardest rockin' album song on this, or rockin' song on this, would be Serious. Alice doesn't really do that in concert very much because it is hard to sing. He has to sing at like a breakneck speed. And personal favorite mine is We're All Crazy and From the Inside. But I have to admit, they're not great tunes. I had this on cassette, and this is my first time having it with the die-cut cover. And I remember like playing Billion Dollar Babies for my friends, or Alice Cooper's Greatest Hits, or Love It to Death. And those are rockin' albums. But I put this on, and they'll be like, what the heck are you playing? That's not Alice Cooper. They'd be like, this is garbage. And even in Martin Popoff, he's a Canadian writer. He reviews a lot of record albums. This is the Definitive Collector Guide to Heavy Metal. He also has a 70s, 80s, and 90s version that you can buy. This is out of print. But From the Inside, he gives a 2. Lace and Whiskey, he gives a 4. And Billion Dollar Babies or Love It to Death, he gives a 9 or 6 respectively. So you can kind of see where his tastes lay, and he definitely doesn't like this album. And I can't fault him for it. It's kind of like music. There's a ballad on there called, I believe it's Jackknife Johnny. No, Million Billy. And it kind of sounds like a song you hear off Joni and Chachi off of Happy Days. But I just like that album a lot. I think it has a lot to do with me growing up, my brother playing it a lot, me kind of just flipping through it, kind of just being enamored with mental illness, Alice Cooper. And I kind of like schmaltz and cheese, so that's that.
To rehab because it was just totally necessary. I mean, I literally committed myself in New York City. I didn't just go into a rehab. I found out that this place was a mental hospital. So I was the only one in there that was in there for alcohol. Everybody else was in there for like killing their grandmother and, making a pie out of her and things like that. Every song on From the Inside was based on a character that I had met in there. Not by name and not exactly what they did, but very close to something that they did. I could never use their names because they might find me. The Hollywood Vampires was in a very exclusive club. Being a Hollywood vampire took a lot of stupidity because you had to want to drink as much as you possibly could until you couldn't drink anymore every night for as long as you could until you were absolutely paralyzed. And that was during a very decadent time, and we were more than happy to be the leaders of this decadence. The trick was to be the last one sitting. If you just drank so much you just couldn't take it anymore, you would just either they'd carry you down or you'd fall down the stairs. But the last one sitting was a very honored position up there.
Final Alice Cooper album that you're gonna see from me for this one is Hollywood Vampires, and this is just fabulous album that Alice put out 2 years ago, 2016, maybe 2015. And originally Hollywood Vampires was this group Alice Cooper belonged to in LA. He hung out with Keith Moon, John Lennon, Mickey Dolnez, a few other people too that I can't really remember. Most of them have passed away. And it was just Alice Cooper's drinking buddies, and they just get blackout drunk every night. And this has a lot. I have the hype sticker here. I'm just going to read it off. This has a lot of players on it. It has Alice Cooper, Johnny Depp, Dennis Dunaway, who is Alice Cooper's original bassist, Perry Farrell, who you know from Jane's Addiction, Dave Grohl, Tommy Hendrickson, Brian Johnson, singer from AC/DC, Abe Labrol Jr., I don't know who that is, Robbie Krieger from The Doors. I believe he passed away too recently, so this might be like the last recordings from Robbie. Sir Christopher Lee, who passed away, Sir Paul McCartney. Sir Christopher Lee does like an intro song. It's got Joe Perry, Slash, Neil Smith, Alice Cooper's original drummer, Glenn Sobel, who does Alice Cooper. He's currently in the Alice Cooper band, his live tour. Zach Starkey, I don't know who that is. Joe Walsh, Kip Winger, who was Alice Cooper's bassist for the Nightmare Returns album and probably Constrictor and Raise Your Fist and Yell, and Bruce Whitkin. And it's got that kind of custom label there. This is just on black. There's the back here. And then you have lyrics and or credits and stuff. So really cool album. I should mention too, Jamie, again, I'm talking about Jamie. He did a review on the Small Faces, and this is where I first heard the Small Faces, was the Hollywood Vampires covering the Small Faces. They did Itchy Boo Park. And most of these songs are tributes to people who have long since passed away, so a lot of the Small Faces members are gone. He does Jeepster by Mark Bolan, who's passed away, Cold Turkey, Manic Depression, and One Jump in the Fire, Melody. He does 5 to 1, Break On Through to the Other Side, A Doors Medley, Whole Lot of Love, My Generation, and there's 2 original songs on here, which are Raise the Dead and My Dead Drunk Friends. And I believe it's, if I can tell you. So these were written by Alice, Bob Ezrin, Johnny Depp, and a few other people where you can see the credits. But I think because they were kind of written by Johnny Depp, they have kind of like a Pirates of the Caribbean feel, kind of cheesy pirate feel, I'd say, to it. Not the greatest songs. I like them, but they're not... They're kind of show businessy, like they're not really rockin' songs. They're kind of, like I said, cheesy. And they don't really hold up to the covers on here. You also have on A Whole Lot of Love, Brian Johnson singing. And he doesn't sing like he normally does in AC/DC. His voice isn't so raspy. Maybe it's how he kind of, I haven't heard his stuff pre-AC/DC. I believe it's called Geordie or Gordy. I haven't heard that stuff. So I can't really compare it to you. And next album I got in December is Uriah Heep's Greatest Hits. This is on 2 LPs. Every disc is long too. There's about 5 or 6 tracks. Some sides have 7 tracks on each side. And the songs aren't short for Uriah Heep in general. They're not like Ramon songs. So you have the booklet with a nice overview. And it doesn't really talk about the songs or anything. It's just an interview with Mick Box and Ken Hensley. I don't know too much about Uriah Heep. I really like what I've been hearing though. And I've only given this 2 spins. And I only can recognize like maybe 2 songs off it at the moment. But I'm really loving this album. And like I've only had it for 4 days. So that's why I don't know. I haven't fully digested this at all. But they just recently announced a tour with Judas Priest. So Priest did a tour with Deep Purple, which was a British band last year. And this year they're doing Uriah Heep, which is a British band. And Judas Priest is from Britain as well. So really cool. I don't know if they'll come to my hometown, but I wouldn't mind seeing these bands live. I don't know how many original members are alive in this band. I know a few have passed away. Same with Deep Purple, Judas Priest. There's only 2 original members of Judas Priest left, which are the bassist and Rob Halford. And the last album, you might want to stop right now I'm going to lose some probably subscribers, but I'm going to ramble on about this. So if you like the rock and stuff, just cut it in now. If you want to hear about Taylor Swift 1989, feel free to continue listening. I'm not like a huge Taylor Swift fan, but she's probably the most modern artist I like. I haven't really liked maybe the band before her that I would have liked that recently came out, which would have been like 20 years ago, would be Korn, which was 1995, I guess. I haven't really liked any modern musicians since. And I can't say I'm like a Swift fan, but I really wanted this album as it kind of helped me through like a dark time in my life. Um, 2 years ago, I just started choking on food. I couldn't swallow food at all. When that happens to you, let me tell you, you freak out. Like you can't breathe. You kind of got to hope it goes down your throat. Sometimes it doesn't. You have to kind of like cough it up, and that's what was happening to me. And I went to the doctor, and he put me on medication because he thought I had acid reflux, and that medication just really messed me up. It messed my digestion system up big time, to the point where I couldn't even, if I wanted to drink this cup of tea, which I could normally do in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it would take me all day. I'd go to work and pour a cup of tea, and but the second sip I took, it'd be like ice cold, and that would be at like 2. And I was only like peeing once a day because I was severely dehydrated at the time. Wasn't eating. I could only eat like 2 bowls of cereal a day, and that it'd take me an hour just to get a bowl of cereal down because everything was getting stuck. And then with the digestive problems, I wasn't hungry, and if I ate too much, I'd puke. So the pills actually made me worse with the swallowing. It made me so I couldn't even swallow my own saliva. So every day I was just kind of like, okay, you probably swallow your own saliva once every minute. And when you have to think about it and force it down, it's really stressful. And this was my only relief for like getting through every day. I listened to this on the way to work, on the way to homework. It's just kind of happy-ish music, good lyrics, good production value. No guitars, no balls to it, no real drums. It's kind of binary music. It's kind of computerized music, but it's done really well. I don't really recommend it, but I had to get this on vinyl because it did help me through a dark spot in my life. I couldn't at the time even like watch a TV show or a movie because I felt like someone was strangling me all day. So this was like my only relief aside from sleeping. And I picked it up for 20 bucks. It's probably dirt cheap because there's thousands, maybe, I don't know, hundreds of thousands. I don't know how many they pressed, but it's got custom labels that say Taylor Swift 1989. And yeah, that's all that I'll leave it at.